You're listening to Music Tectonics.
Welcome back to Music Tectonics, where we go beneath the surface of music and tech. I'm your host, Dmitri. I'm also the founder and CEO of Rock, Paper, Scissors, the music tech PR and marketing firm. Glad to help you anytime. Today, we bring you audio from last month's Music Tectonics Seismic Activity, which was called Startups, Start Your Engines. It features Andrew Kahn of the newly formed Yamaha Music Innovations Fund, and it was the kickoff to our 2025 Swimming with Narwhals pitch competition. Founders, you should apply. You have only 1 week left to submit your application, so listen to this episode and find out more. The deadline for the application is August 8th, 2025, and this was a great live event to get you ready for that. We hear a lot of insight into how founders can best pitch their startups to investors. If you want to sign up to attend our next seismic activity or get more information about the Narwhals competition, please go to musictectonics.com/online events. So let's get to our feature, but first, the news.
Rock, paper, scanner.
And I'm back with Tristra New Year Yeager, our Chief Strategy Officer here at Rock, Paper, Scissors. Hey, Tristra.
Hello. How are you doing, Dmitri?
I'm doing great. Always happy to have a chat with you because I always find out so much more than what I read in the articles because your brain is
because I'm hallucinating it all.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm hallucinating it all.
Tristra GPT is hallucinating. So happy to talk news with you. I'm going to dive in with one. This is a Substack called Ziggy Music, not one that I'm not sure we've talked about it on the podcast yet.
No,
but
he was a big deal. He did a lot of reporting on Web3 and NFTs. So he was watching that space really carefully back in the day.
Well, it's cool to see that he's still around covering other stuff as well. This article is called The Most Important Chart in Music Right Now. And it basically talks about and shows some charts for how publishing is growing 5 times faster than recording, and mentions that until 2020, the recording revenue side of the industry was growing faster than publishing. But in 2022, they flipped, and publishing is now projected to grow faster than recording for the next 5 to 10 years. Now, that doesn't mean that more money's coming from publishing than recording yet, but he does posit that could flip over time. And the reasons he says this is happening all have to do with growth in the publishing side. What I don't get, though, Tristra, and I was curious to hear from you, is most of the time you're getting paid on both sides for a lot of different types of revenue streams. Even in streaming, you get paid on both sides. But all the growth areas like gaming, fitness, social media, immersive worlds, don't you still get paid on both sides? So how can publishing grow faster?
Is it actually that publishing is finally getting paid at all?
I think that's part of it. And definitely he mentions the increase from something like 10 to 15% on increase in publishing revenue specifically for streaming. So yeah, there's definitely an increase in the raw numbers there too. So that's a good point.
And I think there's been a lot of work to finally get all the credits together and the metadata together and to finally connect all the dots so that that information is available so you can pay songwriters.
Yeah. So that's cool. Interesting to see. I'm sure publishers and songwriters are happy about that growth area. You pulled out an article from Complete Music Update. What was that one?
Oh, yeah, this is a fun one. I'm just going to read the title because it kind of says it all. Getting AI companies to agree to licensing deals with copyright owners is, quote, not doable, and, quote, China's not doing it, rambles Trump. Sorry to be a little bit U.S. centric, but the U.S. government or the White House just put out an AI plan. And while copyright isn't mentioned in the plan itself, some rambling remarks came from a certain leader of our country that basically parroted the sort of hand-wringing, the fake grief of the Sam Altmans and the Dario Amadeus of the world that, we would love to support creators, but it's just so hard. Like you're building nuclear reactors and you're planning on taking over hundreds or thousands of acres of farmland, but you can't figure out how to pay someone for using their book. Really? I just wanted to throw that out there because there is still this is actually doable because it's being done right now. And I really hope that we in the music industry can use that as our sort of banner as we go to I hope not to the barricades, but maybe at least to the courthouse and say, hey, this is doable because it's already been done.
Chris Cook mentions in this article that it's going to take a long time for some of this fair use stuff to get sorted out in the courts as well.
Yes.
And my concern is what happens in the meantime.
That's a really good question. And even if the current rulings stand for things like text, right? So there was a Anthropic ruling that said, well, it's cool it's fair use if you have bought the books, for example, that you've scanned. And they can't guarantee in their data set that they've done that. So they're just buying up warehouses upon warehouses of books. Yeah. To ensure that they've bought a copy of everything that they need. So that is it's strange that we've got all of this very technical, precise technology, and yet we can't figure out what is actually in there.
Yeah. And the quotes from our dear president are insane. Of course, you can't copy or plagiarize an article, but if you read an article and learn from it, we have to allow AI to use that pool of knowledge without going through the complexity of contract negotiations. To me, the other pivotal thing that I'm not hearing anybody say is this is the next level of anthropomorphizing corporations to have the same rights as humans. And to me, that's nobody's saying that here. It's like this chess game is not that complicated, but you can see 3 or 4 or 5 moves down the road, we're going to be screwed.
Yeah, well, let's hope that there's definitely still time to sort of figure this out in a way that will not completely collapse certain industries. So
you also flagged a really in-depth article from The Walrus, a Canadian publication called The Death of the Middle Class Musician. It's easier than ever to make music and harder than ever to make a living from it, by Luke Rinaldi.
Yeah, the Walrus is a lovely, like the New Yorker of Canada, I would say. And the author has done a lot of interviews with various artists and producers. And so it's just kind of a cool overview of the scene, at least as Luke Rinaldi sees it. There are a couple really interesting moments, though, and that was he flags some of the artists who are making money are doing it in direct to fan, whether that's selling digital files direct to fans or creating sort of custom songs for fans. There was one guy who did a couple custom songs and ended up making $200,000. So there's some really innovative stuff happening, even if we're, are we moving away from this sort of very platform centric, like you're just locked into the system? Like, I think just to piggyback off both the AI question and this article, you may start seeing a middle class who is the middle class furniture maker? It's the person who's the artisan that's creating higher end furniture, not selling as much, but it's much harder to produce, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But he's selling it that person's selling it directly to customers. And we may see something similar in the music industry.
I think that's a really good point. And I didn't take that away from the article. So I'm glad you brought it up. The article really gets into specific dollars and how much people got paid or didn't get paid or how much they lost and how certain Canadian organizations paid Grimes, like foundation, what do you call it? Grant makers paid Grimes $90,000 or some money ended up in a Crypto Bros bank account or something like that. Yeah. So it mentions like some Canadian specific things. And there's a lot of kind of critique of sort of like how hard it is to be a musician, but I love that you're pulling out kind of the things that have worked, and it makes me wonder, like, is this the independent artist in a post-label era that can actually run a career they're not trying to be sure if they could be a breakout celebrity, superstar, charting artist, et cetera, great, but they're actually making a living. And to me, that's the place that we need to push further, the buttons and the levers that we have to push and pull and experiment more with, is how does an everyday musician who's willing to work 40 hours a week or more making music, performing, recording, custom doing things, doing their own sync. In fact, that publishing article that I mentioned before from Ziggy Music has a whole list of how can you optimize for publishing. And one of the things he says is, do your own sync. Like, just get out there and start doing sync. Get registered with the collection agencies, get some publishing admin in place, but don't necessarily sell your publishing rights, and start doing some sync. Another article that's kind of relevant to this that I'll weave in now, in Hypebot, they do these cool like live music news updates. And one of the little bullets there was about how GigSalad, the online booking platform, has paid out more than $31.8 million to performers in the last 18 months. That is a significant number. That's real money.
Yeah, and not all the performers are in the music sphere. The cool thing about GigSalad and the way it's used by some of the folks involved, you don't have to tour, right? You can really create these interesting experiences that you can execute more locally. And some of them are pretty decent dollar, right? So if you're doing custom music for a reception or you're playing a bachelorette party, you don't need to go through the complicated and expensive logistics of touring. So there's some really neat options out there that are more than just like live tour, streaming, sell album.
Interesting. The founder and CEO, Mark Steiner of GigSalad, started this company 15 years ago, something like that. I don't remember the exact number.
More than that, I think
20 years ago. And he was a booking agent, he was booking acts and other artists would say, how do I get onto your roster? And that's when he launched GigSalad. So it's interesting that he saw the demand for this kind of self-administered artist to have another form of booking opportunity. Now, granted, this is not like getting booked at Madison Square Garden, obviously. This is more like, private events, birthdays, anniversaries, corporate events, etc. But we've had creators, probably a good example of a middle-class musician who's doing it herself is Sides, who you can find on Instagram and TikTok, who does a lot of brand-related stuff now with Logic and different musical instruments and gear and software and things like that. But she started off by doing corporate gigs as well. She didn't love that, so she pivoted. But there's other people who probably would be perfectly happy to get paid to do those gigs. So I love what you're saying about the artist and middle-class musician who's going direct to consumer with booking, with custom songs, with sync, etc.
Yeah, and we don't exactly have good numbers on when the middle class, how big the musical middle class was, say, in 1950 or 60. Or again, if anyone has these numbers, please send them to me. Please prove me wrong. Someone needs to do this research. But since we don't know how big it is, we don't know if it's shrunk or grown or what. We really don't know. But a lot of people like to think it's gotten worse. But has it? Maybe. Anyway, all these things point to new possibilities. It's really interesting.
That was a cool bunch of articles, Trisha. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah. Oh, it was a lot of fun, Dmitri.
I'll see you in the scanner.
Music Tectonics, Swimming with Narwhals, Startup Pitch Competition applications are live now. Head over to musictectonics.com/conference to find the link to apply, eligibility requirements, and a timeline for the competition. Get your application in and purchase a badge by August 8th, 2025 to be eligible to participate.
Now for our feature interview.
Thanks, everybody, for coming. I'm so excited to see so many of you old friends who've come to the Music Tectonics conference or come to some of our meetups around the country, other events, or a lot of our online events like this Seismic Activity, which we do about every month. I'm Dmitri, CEO and founder of Rock, Paper, Scissors, and the founder of the Music Tectonics Conference, one of the hosts and producers of the Music Tectonics podcast, which we release every week. Music Tectonics is the event music tech startups should attend. The conference in person is a blast. It's on the beach. It's beautiful. So much business gets done there. Why should you be there? And why should you be part of our Swimming with Narwhals startup competition? Startup founders tell me they plan their entire year there. They literally take a notebook like this and they fill it up while they're at the conference. And then they tell me they've got a year's worth of plans and things they want to do, collaborations. They come to meet with record labels, distributors, managers, partners, creators. They find collaborators to do business with. Plus, this last year, we had over 25 active investors as part of the conference. They spoke at the conference. They were judges in the competition. They did speed networking, or they were just chilling on the beach by the pool, meeting with founders, testing out things, demoing things, and so forth. So you're going to come to the conference anyway. At least you should. By the way, if any of you are past attendees and you want to put in the chat right now why you come every year, we would love to see that. We love sharing the energy of the community here. So if you're going to attend the conference, you might as well apply to the Swimming with Narwhals startup competition. At the end of the event today, we'll give you more information about it. Applicants get public recognition. They get the speed network with investors. Andrew, our guest today, was part of the speed networking last year, loved the energy. Last week, someone told me they came to the conference. They ended up getting a speaking gig at a conference in Europe this summer because of being there. Others have met investors that have transformed their path as music tech founders, startup founders. They found technical co-founders. So I'm just encouraging you now to fast forward your journey and your connection in a supportive community by applying for this music tech startup pitch competition. And we'll tell you all about it right after our fireside chat. All right, you with me? I love to see the chat. I'm so happy to see you guys all here. All right, so I want to introduce our guest today. Andrew Kahn is managing partner of the newly launched Yamaha Music Innovation Fund, an early stage consumer fund backed by Yamaha Corporation that's focused on technology changing how culture gets created and consumed. Prior to Yamaha, Andrew led Crush Ventures, a venture firm founded by leading music talent management firm Crush Music, who manages generational talent like Miley Cyrus, Green Day, Lorde, and Fall Out Boy. Andrew was on the founding team of Greenfly, a media SaaS business that provides critical infrastructure for how rights-cleared content moves in closed influencer networks, and served as a business development executive at Live Nation, where he pioneered Ticketmaster's distributed commerce platform. Andrew, welcome to Music Tectonics Seismic Activity.
Thanks, Dmitri. Happy to be here.
Thanks for being here. Let's go ahead and dive in. I've got questions for you. We'll have a Q&A at the end. Andrew, how would you describe the state of investment in music tech and entertainment and media tech right now?
Oh, the state. Okay. What matters most are a lot of really smart people are excited about building solutions to problems that they perceive in the market. So I think founder enthusiasm is at an all-time high. Obviously, we have this wave of technical innovation that will change the way we work and create and operate. So founder enthusiasm, technological innovation with AI, and a lot of thorny and sticky problems across kind of the media, music, entertainment landscape makes for exciting times. I think there are some big key themes happening with the convergence of music and media, the professionalization of the creator class. Like, all these things are lending added momentum and putting wind at the backs of founders. From the investment side, investment perspective, like, I generally feel our job is to react to what comes to us. I wouldn't call myself a prognosticator. I don't know where the future is going to go. I think I'm excited. I think that's all I can say. Is from my perspective, I'm excited because there are so many smart people starting so many interesting companies. Obviously, we can't invest in all of them. That's where I have to go to work. But generally, it's very exciting times. There are bigger macro trends happening in venture capital that are worth probably talking about.
Yeah, totally.
On the one hand, you've got the consolidation of the big money into the hands of the few. So, there was an explosion of venture funds really in the kind of zero interest rate era. So a lot of available money flowed from LPs into venture funds that are generally not raising new funds, either because they're over it or they didn't perform or they're just really hard. And so a lot of that money is now, whatever's left is concentrating into the big name funds. So that's one thing that is a bit of a headwind for startups. The other thing that's happening is a lot of the money is pouring into known entities because people are risk averse. So you have all this money continue to pour into a company like OpenAI, which may be an incredible investment, but like, what's the new round at 350 billion? Like, a lot of that money is pouring into safer spaces. So I think the money available for startups, you got a lot of startup enthusiasms, you have a lot of rush with new technology, people coming into the market to solve problems, easier to build, but less money available, particularly at the early stages when the founders need it most. I don't know if that's a helpful overview, but like, there's some macro trends, micro trends within kind of music media landscape. Mix all that with a lot of founder enthusiasm, you have a lot of companies that find themselves banging their head against the wall, I think, to raise venture capital.
Yeah. So it's highly competitive. The supply of investment dollars is not flowing as much as it had in other moments of time. But here you are with your new fund, which we'll talk about a little bit later about what your strategy is and how that fits in within the space that is getting investment in the music and entertainment media tech space. What are the verticals that are attracting the most investor attention? What are the things that are grabbing interest there that you can tell? Is it AI? Is it rights management? Is it fan monetization? Is it marketing tools? Is it music education? What do you think is, you kind of painted the big picture, right? But like, within this space, what is the hot stuff?
I would flip that around entirely and say it is all about the founder and the founding team and their ability to paint a picture that they are solving an intractable problem that ultimately leads to a very big outcome. So I, for one, don't find music rights and royalty solutions particularly compelling. I do have a SaaS background, but like, I think in this industry, you have to align so many stakeholders and so many gatekeepers that it's really hard to build an effective business there, but presented by the right person with the right go to market and experience. And all of a sudden that looks very different to me. So I would say it's less about the things that I'm paying attention to and more about the person who and their unique credibility in solving a problem that they perceive is what's interesting to me. So that's what I look for. And particularly from a Yamaha perspective, whose goal is to play a bigger role in the lives of creative people, like a lot of what it's like the bottom up. So not generally top down, not big artists first, but like bottom up solutions for, I don't know, like increasing accessibility to your passions. So creator tools, distribution, monetization, all those things, but really coming from founders who can build a groundswell around those kinds of tools, not people who go to the top and try to press down. I think that's a much actually harder path where you don't get product-led growth. And that's obviously what we want to see from an investor perspective, or companies that come to us and are acquiring customers very cheaply. I know I'm not answering your question directly, but it's not vertical. Like, sure, like you could build a great Gen AI tool, you can build an incredible royalty tool, you can build distribution, learning, all those things. We want to see all of them. But ultimately, like it starts with the person who's telling you the story about why they're doing it, how they're doing it, and how they're going to do it better than anybody else who's ever done it. And that's what I invest in.
I love that. I mean, I think that's helpful it's actually, in some ways, it can be hopeful because people are like trying to pick the right lane. But right. In reality, it's not about a right lane. It's not about jumping on the trend or the bandwagon of what's happening. It's more about, I mean, you actually did say some things that we could flesh out a little bit that would get us into some specific areas. An intractable problem was one thing you mentioned, which I think is something that is a constant tension between startup founders who have an idea and investors who are deciding how to allocate their investment for the best return. Because how you define the problem is a lot of times it's in the founder's head, right? And they have to get it out of their head, make a convincing case about it. So in some ways, that probably does eliminate some of the kind of micro verticals within the music space in itself, because there's so many solutions that are looking for a problem. I hear investors say that all the time. Like we're not looking for solutions that are looking for a problem. We're looking for solutions that address a problem that is known. And you said intractable, which is, it's an even stronger way of stating it. But you also said you're more interested in kind of ground up access tools in a sense. So I think that does also eliminate some verticals. It's an emphasis on either creation or distribution or monetization of creative pursuits. And it's not like you're trying to build something at the top of the market. You're not looking to invest in something we are going to be the next major record label. No, we're going to be the next thing that make record labels question whether they're doing the right thing, maybe. But it really starts at the bottom and goes up. Am I getting that right?
I think that's right. And I would say that's probably true across any investment category, especially now, is build, like the idea of product-led growth means that your users, your customers become your biggest fans who do the advocating for you and grow your user base. And then enterprise sales come later. Once you see a bunch of URLs registered as users for your product, and then you say, wow, we've got 50 people from, make up a company, Google using this, let's go sell them an enterprise deal. They've got 30 million or 30,000 employees. We can sell this at an enterprise, as opposed to top down. I would also say starting with the rights holders first, obviously creates like a tremendous barrier for any investor to believe a story. Having been around the block a little bit, these are organizations with power who don't want to see their power eroded. And so they're very careful with who they partner with and how they partner and what the economics of those things are. And they can afford to take their time. And I would if I were in their shoes too. Just because, a record label says they're interested in this solution, which I hear a lot, like, oh, I'm not going to say I'm just saying Sony to say Sony. I love the people at Sony. Sony told us they're interested or they're going to send a term sheet. And I'm like, that is not enough validation. I would much rather see, wow, you've got 30,000 users that signed up and they all came organically through a referral network of like this viral loop. Like those things get me really excited when I talk to startups.
Well, in a sense, you're almost saying if you're thinking the enterprise way to go is going to be a primary channel for distribution of your platform or your company or whatever your technology, you're almost saying look for the young, experienced operator within the company who's actually doing stuff to adopt your platform and use that as a reason to get execs at the company interested. Get them to sort of make it critical that they use your tech rather than pitching at the top to try to go through the front door.
In the beginning, right? Like it's how you have to start. Any sales motion starts that way. You find your internal advocate, but if you make it available for them to use at a low cost, $50 a month, $100 a month, they may just pay for that themselves. And that could ultimately lead to an enterprise conversation. But I think when you go to the enterprises first, the gatekeepers with entrenched processes, unless you're solving, again, an intractable problem that is so intractable and usually marked by, we do this with email, Dropbox, spreadsheets, it's a huge thing. And then when you mess with their money, like you better have something real. That's his cycle. And then when you mess with like the core of their business, which is like how they get paid and how money moves, yeah, like you got to have a real solid answer and really customers. Like that's what I want to see is, okay, yeah, that's a big intractable problem, but like, can you sell it? And if you can, it kind of changes the dynamic of our conversation, I think.
Yeah, cool. All right. Well, you started off by saying, I'm not going to answer your question. And I kind of made you answer a little bit, not necessarily by particular verticals, but like how to think about those spaces. But you did say that founders, it's really about the founder. You're investing in the founder, which I've heard a lot from investors as well. I'm not shocked by it, but I am curious since we have you and we have so many founders on the Zoom today. What are you looking for from the founder, either during or after the pitch? Maybe it's questions you ask, but ultimately, what is it that you're trying to figure out and how are you figuring it out?
Well, I'm not saying I'm any good at it. So let's like preface all this with takes 5 to 7 years, maybe 10 years to know if you're good at it. But yeah, I mean, like it's the what, it's the why, it's the unfair go to market, it's honesty about why your company could fail. I mean, those are like the general questions I start off with in any pitch. The thing I'm trying to get to is like founder market fit, because early stage, yeah, again, it's a bet on a person or a small team. And so it's coming to believe that this team has some unique insight, the ability to build and execute. And that's what I'm trying to solve for at the earlier stages is founder market fit. Are you, like you said, are you building this because you feel this problem personally, or are you building this because like you see there's an opportunity to make money and you're not that there's anything wrong with that. Maybe that's fine. Maybe that company wins. But for the 20 to 25 investments we're going to make out of this fund, 4 to 5 a year, like we really want to feel really good about the team that we're backing and that we can't throw around money like big firms. So got to believe that this team can't live without solving this problem. And then that they can build. I'm not investing pre-product unless there's maybe a second, third time founder who's had success. Got a product, you can show it to us, it works, and you have early customer traction. So there are pre-seed investors. I wouldn't put us in that bucket with a $1 million first check. Not that we wouldn't play there, but really like for me at this point in the market where things are is I want to see some traction. I want to see that you can build a community of really enthusiastic users. Those are the things that I look for in every call. And that's not to say that there aren't, like, you should be able to raise money early on if you've got a compelling pitch. Just for us, I need to see those things to get real comfortable, then taking this through committee and advocating for it, right? Because ultimately we still have to sell this into our board who we vote to make decisions. This isn't a one-man operation.
Hey, we got a question in the chat from Parker Busick from Soloist, who is curious to find out, what does early customer traction look like? I think the emphasis is on early, right?
I don't know, like traction. in market. The key things are like, it's not a number, just like, what's the number? Like I've seen companies with 700,000 users, 5,000 paying, like, so people are using it, but they're not really paying. There's all these deltas that we then try to dive into and understand why the difference. What does that mean? Can you make up the gap? Some have a believable story to go from 5,000 to 100,000 of those people paying. Like, we want to dive in and understand. It's not an aggregate number. To me, it's like you see an upward trajectory that's more than linear. It's compounding because people are enthusiastic about the product. It's really good retention all around, but particularly on people who are paying for it. Some kind of viral, I hate that, like a douchey investor term, viral coefficient. Look it up if you don't know what it means. But like, those are the things that I think we try to, again, we're just taking data points. Those would be the three that I would use for answering that question. What does early user traction mean? All those things. And then we still have to believe that this market is massive and it could return our fund. That is ultimately the question when we do the math. It's okay, this could get big enough with our $1 million check and our 5 to 10% ownership that with some dilution or further rounds and investing our pro rata that we could return the fund with this. So for founders, that's the math we're doing on our side.
Yeah, got it. Okay, one follow-up to that. I've got a couple other things I want to ask you, but how do you typically evaluate early stage startups that might not have much traction yet? How do you even have conversations with maybe they do have a great product? Maybe you can project out. You've been in the music industry long enough to know sort of like, oh, they're actually solving a problem. It's a big addressable market, but they haven't started yet. They're like, okay, now we want to launch. We want somebody like Yamaha to support us in this launch. How do you evaluate no traction startups?
I'm an interloper. You know more than I do. So I'll just caveat everything with that. Like, again, I'm much more of a, like, let's get down to the facts of who's building it, what they're building. Do they know how to get to market? Do they have viral, like, real traction? For a super early stage, when I've made those bets, it's all about the founder. It's about the founder and the product. If you don't have customers, I don't buy it. You should be able to build a community. There shouldn't be a product that we're seeing pre-seed that doesn't have a community, at least a strategy, but really, like, you've built some kind of community online somewhere. Like, you've done that work. Because I think you've probably heard this, and so I'm just repeating what way smarter people have said, but like, first time founders obsess over product, second time founders obsess over distribution. It's like the tree falling in the forest. You got to think about both. And when you come to like an investor in the pre-seed, if you haven't thought about your go-to-market, that's a big problem. You should, to get that money, come to a pre-seed investor with a great founder story, a believable big market, demonstrable product, and then traction on some level with a community. At least a plan to do it. But like, I'm talking a Discord server or a Telegram channel, like something that, or a big email list that you've built because you partner with an influencer, something like that would allow an investor, again, we're telling a story about you to the people we have to defend our decisions to. And so help us tell that story really well. And that's how I would, as a founder, I would think about it like that. Like, you're selling to me and I'm then selling this to a different group of people who I need bought in and excited about it.
Okay. Questions are starting to come in, which is awesome. Before we get to the audience questions, what can you tell us about Yamaha's investment strategy, especially if there's anything that might surprise founders? Maybe lay it out for us. We haven't even talked really about any of this. What are you trying to do here?
Look, I think that this is my opportunity to sell founders on Yamaha. I think everybody in the world knows who Yamaha is. It's a generations old company, 100-year-old company that has played a critical role in the lives of creative people. I think I mentioned in the beginning, but Yamaha's motives here with this fund are to expand the role it plays in the lives of creative people. One thing that we bring at the early stage, like, what do you want in an investor? You can get money anywhere, but what do you need help with as a founder? You need technical help. You need help with how you run your business, things that you're plugging your gaps. Like, where I think we come in and where we can be extremely helpful is there are many kind of points where we can do that, but like distribution. So Yamaha has this kind of treasure trove of assets and a dedicated platform team that works with our fund to help leverage all that Yamaha brings to bear. 3,000 official artists. You can look them I'm not saying that you're going to get Elton John and Alicia Keys, but I'm saying they're the official artists. 10 million customers, global distribution and relationships. One, like a degree removed from every door that you need opened. 400,000 kids around the world coming through Yamaha's music schools. Never mind that Yamaha has not just makes musical instruments and audio equipment, but like tons of software. So there are integration opportunities galore. And so these are all the things that we want to bring to bear for the startups that we invest in. And some it will be opening a door, and others it will be an integration that exposes them to 1 million new customers. That's what we're trying to do that's different in the market. So that's my pitch on Yamaha. But we're also still trying to win real big. There's obviously strategic goals with any single LP backed fund. Like we have goals that we're trying to accomplish for Yamaha, but we also have financial goals, and we're trying to win big by betting on founders with big ideas that will have huge outcomes and change industries.
Got it. So when Steve Stewart in our chat asks, does Yamaha consider itself more as a VC or a strategic? What's the direct answer to that?
Yeah, both. Strategic VC. We're a venture capital fund. Yes, there is a kind of strategic lens that we will look at everything through. The goalposts it's not a generalist fund, but also, yes, we are uniquely strategic, I think, in terms of capital that you could take as a founder.
And we obviously set this up as a music industry, music tech conversation, but you've told me to think bigger, to think wider than just music, which is unexpected to me because it's called Yamaha Music Innovation Fund. Can you say a little bit more about how wide you go with that thought?
This is not a music innovation fund. This is a Yamaha Music Innovation Fund. So the aperture is wide. The aperture is the big themes are anybody with a passion for IP, and as measured by skill, from professional creator to opposable thumbs, like who wants to engage with IP more than like just swiping on social media. That's the kind of spectrum, if you will, of like where we're looking. And everybody from passive fan who's focused on consumption to active fans who are focused on more active participation and co-creation to the future of UGC creation, whatever that means, to prosumer to pro. Like we're investing all along that spectrum, and it's not just in music. It's because music and media have converged. You don't have one without the other. Like it's the whole creator space.
Cool. I have one last question, then we'll go to the audience for additional questions. We're part of the Music Tectonics conference. We're encouraging people to come build community. You've met people at Music Tectonics yourself, I'm sure. Thanks for participating, Andrew. It's always been great to have you there. What should startups have ready when they attend a conference like Music Tectonics, where they'll meet investors and other potential partners?
I gotta say, don't come up with a pitch. Just be human. I've had so many times I'm like, I don't know where this investor bet. I was on the other side on a founding team of a startup. Like I know the urgency to go sell and pitch. And I would just say, if you happen into a conversation with somebody who says, oh no, I'm an investor for so-and-so, it's like, oh, that's super interesting. What do you focus on? Tell me more about that. Talk to them like a human. Don't come up and share a pitch. It's always like, make an impression that you are somebody that they would like to be in business with, and then follow up after. Nobody wants to get pitched on the spot. Everyone's going to be nice to your face. Again, keep in mind, our goal is 1,000 investments reviewed a year to make 4 to 5 investments. So, it's a low batting average against decks received. So keep that in mind, that like the probability is low. So get to know somebody as a human, try to win them over that way first, and then follow up politely. If you're not getting reception, they could be really busy. The hounding doesn't work, like none of that. But I wouldn't come up with a deck. I wouldn't come up with a pitch. I wouldn't offer a demo unless somebody expresses interest. It's always like, let's follow up after. Is that cool? Yes, absolutely. Connect on LinkedIn or get their email. That's all I would, from an investor, that's all I could recommend at a conference when you want to talk to investors.
Just a quick follow-up on that. Are you saying if somebody comes up with a slick pitch, it feels like they're just throwing it out everywhere and they're not looking to really understand your goals or connect? Is that why you're saying that?
I don't know. I just don't like being pitched. Like, who wants to be sold? Like, it is a sale. I would rather get to know somebody on a human level first. These are people you're going to be in business with for a long time, through good and bad. Most don't work out. So you want to make sure that like it's a person if you can sell me, like if you walk up and cold pitch me, and I didn't say pitch me, I don't know. Are you going to be able to sell to somebody else? Like, is an artist going to buy in this, or a creator, or an enterprise? I don't know. I think it's a lot of like, be genuine, be honest, and it's not the forum to pitch is when you meet somebody. Speed pitch, yes, totally. Or if you're on stage, absolutely. But if it's like walking around a conference, you see somebody with an investor badge, or you recognize them, it's like, hey, I recognize you. What's up? What are you doing here? Are you having fun? You seen anything? Those are the things I would ask. And that's what I would want to be, how I would want to be approached, at least. I don't know if that's answering your question. It's more like, be a human. Don't pitch on the spot. Maybe that works for some people. I don't know. Maybe some investors are like, okay, go. It's not how I would do it.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, cool.
But
All
maybe
right.
I will to surprise everybody. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. They're gonna come up to you at Music Tectonics and they're gonna be like, hey, are you into such and such? Hey, have you heard this new band? And you're gonna be like, where's your pitch? Give me your deck. Are you ready to demo?
That's right. And I would also say, I am one set of eyes, every investor, one set of eyes who does not know and will mostly be wrong. So keep in mind if somebody doesn't want to hear the pitch or says no, that doesn't mean that your idea is not right or you won't win. Sometimes they're in a bad mood. Sometimes they just don't see the vision, whatever. Like maybe they invest in the next round. So just keep all that in mind. Like you're still dealing with people on the other side who get slammed all day with more information and,
Yeah.
too.
Cool. We now have some hands raised. Love this. Let's go through these questions quickly because I have a hunch there's going to be a lot of people. Toby, I'm going to go Toby, and then in the order that they were raised, just because Toby had his hand up earlier. Tell us your name, your company, just one little line about your company or what you're up to, and then your question, please. Toby, you're up.
Hi, my name is Toby. I'm the founder of T-Shot. I'm building an AI co-producer for creators. And the question I had might be a little bit of a curveball. It makes sense why Yamaha is interested in investing in the music or the IP space. I was curious to learn a little bit about why you, Andrew, are interested in this space. Arguably, there's larger markets to kind of address. You could be selling AI to like dentists and all those sorts of stuff. So why are you doing that? Why are you doing music or IP, as you said earlier?
But do I have to answer all the questions?
One question.
And like people take different paths. Mine has always been around media and entertainment. So I've just spent time in the space. It wasn't like I was born and I'm like, I'm going to do that. But the opportunities present themselves in your lives and you go down different paths. And it's just something I've been exposed to and around. And the opportunity came with Yamaha. And it was super exciting, honestly, to be with like a generational brand and to lead something like this, where I thought, again, knowing the platform and what other venture firms bring to the table, that I thought this was just a unique, once in a long time opportunity. I don't know if that answers the question or not.
You were at Crush Music before that.
Yeah, that was awesome too. That was a great opportunity. I had left a startup and through somebody who had invested in my seed round, like introduced me to that opportunity. I didn't,
Gotcha.
it just, opportunities come about and you evaluate them and make decisions. So why am, I think this is Toby, to answer your question, like I said, I'm not an expert. Like I don't know the future, but it's a space I've just spent a lot of time in. And so when I saw the platform with Yamaha, knowing that I've been investing in this space for 6 years, I thought the combination of those things could make this be a really powerful firm. That's honestly what I thought.
Awesome. Thanks, Toby. John Geardy, please introduce yourself, your company, and your question.
Hi, Andrew. John Garrity from PulseJet Studios. Nice to meet you. I worked on the Apple Vision Pro, among other things, at Apple for quite a while. And so my company does immersive music content for Vision Pro and MetaQuest and others. It's AI-powered stuff. And I'm curious, you haven't really talked about AI much, but it's clearly the hot topic for VC and the hot topic in the capital markets these days. And I'm curious, for music, it represents both potentially threats and opportunities. I'm just curious how Yamaha sees AI, whether more as a threat or more as an opportunity, or if there's a take on it, or if there's a bent for this particular round you're investing. What are your thoughts on AI?
Well, I can't speak for how Yamaha sees it, although they're very technically capable and are building their own solutions for their own products. Yamaha aside, I can't speak for them, but from a fun perspective, like, yeah, absolutely. What a exciting space to be investing in. I do think it's going to usher in a whole new class of creative people. Not that this is, certainly believe in like the careers of professional artists, but like technology has always been rough to adopt, and there've always been people like, no, man, the kids, they don't work as hard as but then eventually everybody catches up and is like, how can I live my life without this? I think we're in this, it'll be that kind of moment. So like, you know, creative industries wise, I think people are afraid, but like the first ones to adopt it are going to win. And then everyone will catch up and start using Photoshop, right? That didn't exist.
Yep.
And then it did. And now that is a career, is being an expert in that. And I think, it'll be the same with these tools.
Same to me. Yep. Game changer for sure. Cool. Thanks.
Thanks, John. Parker, you're up. Please introduce yourself and ask your question.
Hello. Yeah, Parker Buzik, working on a multiplayer loop pedal. I got a pitch at Tectonics last year, so I'll just make a quick aside. Like, if you're a music tech founder in here and you're not applying for that, I would just be super curious why you would not do that, because it was a super cool opportunity to get some time with like people like Andrew and Rishi. My question, and if this is like a dumb question or whatever, we'll just move on to the next one. I know there's a line. But Andrew, I want to talk about that whole balancing being a human versus being an urgent pragmatist. Next Wednesday, I get to go to the house of the founder of Sweetwater, Chuck Surak. And just because I found out he was playing a local show in my hometown, I went and shot my shot, got to talk to him, and now I get to go to his house. I'm trying to figure out how I should use his time, because he's a super important dude, like a billionaire or whatever. I've never gotten a chance to talk to somebody like this. So I want to be like a human, and I don't want to, but at the same time, I don't want to waste his time. And I'm trying to figure out in this first conversation with him, should I just be trying to tell him my story, tell him about myself, and learn about him, and just have a nice human conversation that might lead to more conversations? Or should I talk about some of my urgent, pragmatic business asks or desires or advice that I'm seeking? A big asterisk around that whole advice question, I'm just curious how I should approach a conversation like this with somebody who's pretty cool.
I would just do what you just did. Hey, look, man, I'm super excited to be here. So I want to show you what I built, but like, how would you like to take it? Can I tell you my story? I don't know, like, yeah, I mean, that's the human part. You're like so good at that. It comes through here, it came through last year, like, just be charming. But I want to show it to you, and I don't want to waste your time. So you tell me how I can, guy, how can I make the best use of your time?
I like that. Just kind of put it in his court a little bit.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
How hard would it be to just show him, to demo it?
Oh, super easy. Super easy.
I mean, make sure that's an option on the table. I think if you can show up and do something cool musical, the dude started with a Volkswagen minibus, to like produce people's shows or record shows, and having a big business. I think in the church world, like I think that's where things really exploded there as well. That's just an idea. I
know. Yeah, I've got a billion thoughts in my head, but
definitely bring the product to demo. I think just more. Tell me how you want me to play it.
Yeah. Nice. I have some ideas. Thank you.
Cool. Thanks, Parker. Oliver, you're up. Please introduce yourself and ask your question.
Hi, Andrew. Hi, Dmitri. I'm Oliver. We're building Casa, a community-centered ticketing and discovery platform designed for music collectives and independent organizers. Andrew, you mentioned that you were previously working at Ticketmaster. I just wanted to get your view on Ticketmaster's grip on the global music ticketing market, and if you think it's sustainable moving forward. I know we've seen apps like Partyful and other different sort of apps come along for music marketing and ticketing, and they're more focused around independent and niche organizers. Just wanted to get your view on that, and if you think Ticketmaster's grip is sustainable moving forward.
Oh man, you can get me in trouble for answering this question.
Don't get in trouble on my Zoom, okay?
Yeah, I can't get in trouble here. I didn't even think about Partyful as a solution for this, but that should tell you how well Partyful is doing. If they're in you as somebody who's building the space, view them as somebody who's making significant enough traction in the event organizing DIY space that you would consider them a threat to Ticketmaster. So like my answer is build from the bottom up. Every market in the world is different. Like you as a ticketer, and you sound like you have an accent, you're probably from the UK, you have a shot in that market because it's an allocation-based market. But like I get millions of ticketing pitches in the US, and it's just a way more difficult dynamic to compete here. If you look at somebody like a SeatGeek, who's really the one that's broken through and become a semi-formidable competitor. I think I first met them in like 2012. They've been on a 13, 14 year, 15 year journey now almost. And you got to give away a lot of equity to rights holders, and that's how you compete here. So I would advocate for bottom up approach in the ticketing, like a Partiful. There are a bunch of people focused in that space. I think that's I think it's kind of the only place to start. But I can't tell you what's going to happen with Ticketmaster. I don't know, but they have a really good business.
Great. Thanks for the question. We've got about 5 minutes and about 7 hands up. So it's time for a speed round. You ready for this, Andrew? We're going to go fast, guys. Bill, please introduce yourself and ask your question.
Hey guys, I'll try to go fast. Trevor and I, co-founders here of Dogpaw, we have this new musical instrument that we're looking to sell. And we're excited based on the thesis that we saw online for Yamaha, that there was a category for like next gen instruments and hardware, but I haven't really heard that brought up today. I know that's like probably the hardest for traditional VCs to invest in. That's kind of why we're excited about the Yamaha fund specifically. We're curious if that's still on the table for this fund and if that has been de-emphasized or if there's other kind of strategic considerations going into those types of investments. Thanks.
Not really a focus for the fund for obvious reasons. I think if there was something that was really unique and was getting like earnest groundswell of traction, then I'm sure it's something we'd take a look at.
Thanks for the question, Bill. Kylie, you're up.
What's up? I'm Kylie Kamen, artist manager turned the founder, I suppose. So I'm in the process of building something called the Rabbit Hole. Rabbit Hole is a social media management system and analytics platform built specifically for artists and their teams. My question is, what do you suggest people do when they're in the very early stages where you think that maybe VCs wouldn't be willing to look at them because they're still in the progress of building out that MVP, but they still need some funding nonetheless?
Friends and family. Try to get,
I really hope you wouldn't say that.
Yeah. Friends and family. If you are, there are accelerators you can apply to. And then if you've been in the industry, try to align some strategic investors who would use the software in the beginning. Those are the things that I think that's where I would start.
I know that's hard, Kylie. Sometimes you're like, friends and family, they already did contribute, or they don't have any money or whatever. Just means extend your friends and
family. I'd rather jump off a cliff than ask anybody for money ever again. Sorry, continue. Next person.
And I'll tell you, then you're going to have a real hard time raising money because you're always asking.
I know these people. Doesn't matter. Keep going.
We'll grow out your friends and family. That's it. We'll find more friends, more family. All right. Thanks for asking, Kylie. Alex, you're up.
Alex, Trip Lab in California. We work on textual, intelligent content. Been 6 long years in pre-seed now because it's so complex. I read one of your partners in an interview that he's also interested in code development rather than just investing. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I think it would have to be a very unique use case for us to also join as a founder. Generally not going to be the focus of the fund. But we do partner also separate from the fund with emerging startups to help them leverage the Yamaha ecosystem. There's a whole other side of this outside the fund within the innovation team that does focus on partnership opportunities with startups.
Julian, real quick, what's your question, please?
Hey, Andrew. We chatted about 3 years ago. How are your kids? I think when we chatted, they were just getting born, right? Yeah, amazing to see the transition from Crush, right?
It's not Open Sesame. I see Sync Stage.
Oh, no, that's the product. So the product Sync Stage, same thing. So since we spoke, I think we've raised like 4 rounds of funding, but I wanted to get your thoughts on creator tools because that's what Sync Stage is in. And specifically, if we think about Roblox, and actually they're probably one of the most successful creator tools companies, essentially creating creator tools for 7-year-olds. I wanted to get your thoughts on where Yamaha's position on that, because we can create creator tools, but are we actually trying to create creator tools for 7-year-olds? So if the thesis is increase in n number of creators, is it about simplicity and ease of use versus more creator tools?
Good question. I don't know. Both. Yes, like there's, again, the skills, and skills is generally a reflection of age and experience. Sure, why wouldn't we want to invest in the next Roblox? But also aspiring professionals or UGC creators to prosumer to pro, they need different tools because they're older and have more capacity. So I think we would invest all along that. And we're invested, in my last fund, invested in a DAW that is played with a video game controller. Yes, the bet is kids have a game controller in their hands since the time they're 6 years old. Why wouldn't that be an instrument? That's a skill, right? To be great with that, to have great opposable thumbs. It's just like to play the guitar. You have to have good dexterity or the piano. Like People are professionals using controllers. Why wouldn't you be with technology? Why couldn't you be a great musician or creator using a video game controller? So to answer your question, yes to all.
Good
Awesome. Thanks for that, Julian. Thanks, Andrew. James O'Brien, you're up.
Hello, I'm a co-founder of Sound Ethics. We work with universities on research projects and develop IP that solves challenges for the music industry in the AI era. And then my question is about whether you support any accelerator programs, or it sounded like there was a hint of like more about the innovation lab.
We are not part of any accelerators. I think that's one answer. Two, what was the second part?
Whether you have like an innovation lab or, basically participate in like R&D in that way.
Oh, an innovation lab to participate in R&D. Yes, there's a huge R&D team at Yamaha. If you think there's a reason to have a conversation with them, I'm happy to send the information along.
Awesome. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, Andrew, I'd heard that within your kind of wing of Yamaha, there's also biz dev folks who are interested in those kind of introductions as well. Andrew Carlins, real quick, what's your question?
Yeah, hi, I'm Andrew Carlins. I'm a CEO and co-founder of Songscription. We're a team of Stanford folks who have trained proprietary AI models that automate audio to MIDI and audio to sheet music transcription. I'm wondering, one, if this is something, we're also revenue generating already, and we're looking for strategics. I'm wondering, one, if this is something that fits well within yours, or if you could advise other strategics to reach out to, and two, what your view on is, say, our tool augments the music process, it's using AI, versus something like Suno and Udio, which may replace the creatives, and what your view as a music investor is about the future of AI in music. Is it more to augment the existing processes, or is AI the next creator?
I don't know, both maybe. I hope it's not AI as the creator, but as far as I can tell, they still require a text-based prompt. No, that sounds interesting, man. Right down the road from you today and tomorrow. But some of these things get a little bit on the nose, like Yamaha and their goals with the sheet music, but that's certainly a interesting area. The question I have personally is, can that be a massive company? Would be the question I'd ask of your business if you pitched me. But besides that, do I believe that AI should augment? I would hope it would augment. I mean, it's always been. It's like people are like, oh my God, name the software is going to replace humans. And like it does, right? We know that. I'm actually going to repeat what everybody else has said. Like, yes, like people used to work in the fields and then they moved to factories and then people learn new skills and you retooled. And why wouldn't that be any different? It feels uncomfortable, but it doesn't mean that we're all going to be replaced. I think we'll just be augmented, hopefully. You tell me, man. Your team at Stanford, you're the smartest guy in the room. What do you think?
I know there are other folks, but we could. I don't want to take up too much space. We could talk another time, Andrew.
No, this is the Andrew Zoom, so you're part of it, man.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Andrew and Andrew. Appreciate that. And Andrew Kahn, thank you so much for making yourself available. This has been amazing. In the chat, I've seen people are like, this is the first time I've ever heard this kind of information and so forth. You've shared so much. Really appreciate it. A round of applause for Andrew Kahn in the chat here, and come out to Music Tectonics to meet him in person as well. Shaylee, why don't you take us out? You've got a couple of important things you need to announce.
Before everyone logs off, be sure to register for all of our next online events coming up. If you have any PR or marketing needs, be sure to reach out to Jade at rockpaperscissors.biz. As I mentioned, we launched a PR club that's really great for a lot of startups. So definitely reach out to him. If you're interested in getting involved in the Music Tectonics conference, I would love to have a chat about that. So reach out to me at Shaylee at rockpaperscissors.biz. And remember to mark your calendars and buy those super early bird badges for the Music Tectonics conference happening November 4th through 6th in Santa Monica, California. And that's a wrap. Thank you all.
Thanks, Andrew. Thanks, Shaylee. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it all. Thanks for listening to Music Tectonics. If you like what you hear, please subscribe on your favorite podcast app. We have new episodes for you every week. Did you know we do free monthly online events that you, our lovely podcast listeners, can join? Find out more at musictectonics.com. And while you're there, look for the latest about our annual conference and sign up for our newsletter to get updates. Everything we do explores the seismic shifts that shake up music and technology, the way the Earth's tectonic plates cause quakes and make mountains. Connect with Music Tectonics on Twitter, Instagram, and LinkedIn. That's my favorite platform. Connect with me, Dmitri Vitsa, if you can spell it. We'll be back again next week, if not sooner.
You're listening to Music Tectonics.